Disclaimer: this is audio horror fiction. If darkness or the creatures it holds scares you, leave now. Still listening? Good. Then let's begin. What do you know about the things that you own? Things have stories, histories. Some of the stories darker than you would imagine. I bought something, brought it into my home. Or maybe Jane was meant to be a part of this all along. We had just moved in. The house was a labyrinth of boxes, a minefield of sharp plastic and Lego. Somehow a box of the damn stuff had broken, and I was still stepping on the pieces a week on. I had just gotten a transfer at the office, and we were looking forward to living in another city. It was just past summer, and the leaves were turning a delicious auburn shade. Carla, my significant other, took some time off work to settle our daughter Jane into her new school. New job, new city, new life. Things were just about perfect. The perfect clarity you get, like a flash of lightning in your life, just knowing that the thunder is inevitable. I've always loved weekend markets, flea markets, secondhand clothes shops, and yard sales. Not anymore though. A windy Saturday found Jane and I at the last yard sale we would ever go to. I took in the familiar sprawl of furniture, clothes, and appliances across the verdant yard. I smiled at the collection of baby clothes and toys strewn all about the yard sale, remembering the nightmare of hand-me-downs, sales, and donations I went through to dispose of Jane's baby stuff. I ran my fingers through Jane's hair. She was going through what we affectionately called her mushroom phase, a short bob of chestnut brown hair planted firmly on her head. I gave her a kiss on the top of her head, and she reciprocated with a gap-toothed smile. She pulled away and started stalking the aisles of furniture in the faintly leonine manner that all young children demonstrate. I shook my head and started browsing the items on sale. It was only after I found myself slowly brushing my hand over the frame of a crib before the creeping wrongness of the entire sale just hit me. The lack of dirt on the wheels of the pram, the smooth lacquer on the crib devoid of nicks and scuffs. I ran my fingertips over the ridges of the ornately carved J on the headboard, the crinkle of the sheets on a tiny mattress, too stiff to have even been washed once. There was something else here, some hidden story to be told. The man in charge of the cell had seen better days. A scraggly beard adorned his chin, and the smell of alcohol clung to him like a shroud. He looked up as I approached. He couldn't have been any older than me, but there was something about him, some deep aura of defeat around him, that left him stooped and old before his time. His eyes were glassy, half-focused, like those of a rotting fish. I was working up the courage to ask him about the baby gear when Jane comes bounding up to me. She wasn't alone. My first instinct was that she was carrying someone else's baby, but I quickly realized that she had managed to find a huge doll somewhere in the yard sale. I bent over so I could look her in the eye. "You've got enough toys, young lady," I admonished.
"But Daddy, this one's got the big J on her dress, just like me. J for Jane, right?"
She countered quickly, thumbing the embroidered J on the doll's blue dress. "I guess we can ask," I said, straightening up with a soft grunt. My joints weren't how they used to be. I was wholly unprepared for what I saw next. The man, almost totally expressionless before, now had his face twisted up with conflicting emotions, equal parts fear and anger.
"Where did you get that from?"
he hissed, advancing on my daughter. I quickly stepped between the two, getting ready for a confrontation, even as Jane skittered backwards, clutching the doll to her chest. The man stopped short, those dead eyes fixed on a point past Jane's shoulder.
"This is what you want, isn't it? This is what you want. Take her then. Take her."
The words were low and flat, spoken like a mantra. Jane needed no further invitation. She turned and fled toward the safety of our car. After making sure she was safe, I turned back to confront our antagonist. He had disappeared. It was when we were halfway home that I realized that Jane was still holding on to the doll. Sometimes you wonder if there are moments in your life that feel like the first ascent of a roller coaster. That feeling of peace at the apex when the whole world seems to take a breath. And then madness. I realized that the night Jane brought the doll back was the last night I slept easily. The last night of peace. The top of the coaster. The next night the rats came. A rat. I never heard more than one. It was always the same tap of claws across the hard wooden floor. Slowly and deliberately. Click, clack, click, clack. Sometimes I'd lie awake in my bed in the darkness, just listening out for the faint noises. Once or twice I'd be half asleep when the soft clicking on the hardwood floor would be louder than usual. I couldn't shake off the image of a rat's twitching whiskers as it took in the smells of the bedroom where my wife and I were lying in bed. Our rat problem started at the same time Jane started her obsession with her new doll. I don't know why it took me so long to think about returning it to the guy from the yard sale, but by the second day she had it, she was bringing the damn thing everywhere. To breakfast, when she was watching TV, to bed with her. The worst thing was that it was one of those talking models, the ones which record things and play them back in a piping, eternally cheerful monotone. I catch her out of the corner of my eye, whispering to it and giving a little smile as she held it up to her ear to have her words repeat in that devilishly happy voice. I started laying out poison for the rats. It didn't seem like a full-blown infestation, so I really didn't want to spend the money on a pest control company. I had no luck. The little mounds of brightly colored pellets remained undisturbed. The tapping at night continued unabated. Jane, on the other hand, withdrew into herself. One day I came to find that she had dumped all her toys into the closet, leaving the new doll on the bed.
I only need one friend,
she said, looking me straight in the eye. She spoke to us less and less, the normal wonder of being a child slowly supplanted by a melancholic sullenness. The only time I saw her smile was when she was talking to that hideous thing. Having no luck with the poison, I opted to go for traps instead, specifically glue traps. I could get a bunch of them in a packet and they wouldn't take up too much space. I spread them around the house, the kitchen, the laundry area, a slice of salami for bait. Remembering the tapping noise in my room, I told my wife to avoid the spot in front of the bed and put the last trap there. I was woken up by the familiar skitter of claws on the wooden floor, in the bedroom again this time, sounding even louder than before. Even through the haze of sleep, I could hear the little footfalls getting louder. It seemed like an eternity before the cautious steps faded out, to be replaced by the raspy sounds of the glue trap sliding around the floor. Gotcha, asshole, I remember thinking to myself as sleep took me back into its dark embrace. My triumph was short-lived. The early morning light only revealed a scuffed-up trap. The rat must have been bigger than I thought. I picked up the sticky cardboard and threw it into the bin on my way out of the room. My wife was already up. The smell of freshly brewed coffee beckoned from the kitchen. Jane was also awake, sitting at the far end of the dining table and scowling at her breakfast, the brown hair of the doll just peeking out from under the table. She didn't say a word. I sighed. Carla and I would have to talk this out soon. Talk to Jane, maybe arrange for a session with a therapist. Deep in thought, my elbow nudged a teaspoon off the table. It hit the floor and bounced with a musical clang. I swore softly under my breath and got down on my hands and knees to pick it up. I wasn't prepared for what I saw under the table. My breath caught in my throat as I locked eyes with Jane's doll under the table. But staring into those soulless orbs wasn't the reason I felt the blood drain from my face. Jane had one hand propping the doll up. The other hand was absent-mindedly picking at the thin layer of yellow glue on the feet of the doll. Thank you all so much for listening. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to help feed the dark machine. Share with other fans of horror, and if you have a story that you would like for me to read, check the description below for details.